So let's grab one of these guys. Let's try this one. Winner is Chocho. Both. You know what? That doesn't count because you can't subscribe to your own channel. So that doesn't count. Let's pick another one. I can't believe I won. I've never won anything before, and I'm not even qualified to win this one. Let's take a look at my Dark of the Moon Leadfoot custom. I do want to point out a couple things before we get started. I do have Topspin and Roadbuster here in their weaponized modes. These guys are not complete, but they're very fitting for the comparison, obviously. I also have a slightly customized Dark of the Moon Bumblebee in the back. I think he fits in really well. And I will point out that Wreckgar here is holding all the entries to my giveaway, and at the end of this video I'm gonna dump those entries out and we will know who has won my giveaway contest, so stay tuned for that. Now I took a armored topspin, which is basically a gray black with touches of red version of this topspin you see right here. In this mode they do have quite a few similarities. Obviously I've carved out the spoiler to have a bit of a difference there. I've added missiles to him. Those missiles are simply little bits and pieces I find from arms microns, minicons, whatever's piling up that I think is worthless in my collection. And I use those bits to make what's going on. For example, I'm doing a custom on a crowbar into Trailbreaker, and I use these little dreads for bullets, you know, a chain of bullets, which I think looks great. I do take some liberties. For example, the exhausts here on Leadfoot should be back here. Now, if those exhausts were back here, they would, when he transforms, be on the inside of his legs, which you're going to see in a bit, and I just didn't agree with that. My main point is you're obviously going to take some liberties when you're taking a figure that is meant to be a topspin and you're turning him into a Leadfoot. For example, he has like thrusters on the back in the movie, and I really just this ends up being his backpack. I didn't want to bulk it out too much, so I just, you know, simulated it by using some bits of arms micron and painting them the same color so that they look like thrusters. I just didn't want to get his backpack too big. Again, it was a decision that I had to make. And before we get on to transformation, I just want to point out some of the things I do with Bumblebee. Number one, his rearview mirrors should be black. His Chevy symbols should be gold. And his exhaust should be painted. I think that really helps. Wow, I like him. There's not a big deal to his transformation, but there is one additional parts for him. This hood section now has to pull off and plug into his back in robot mode, where in his format it would simply become a backpack kibble / weaponry hanging off his shoulders. So first thing you want to do is remove his weapons. Simply unpeg those. Then you want to remove his hood section. This is not supposed to happen with this figure. So that was the major work in this custom, was I cut those off. And I know it's parts forming, it's something I would love to avoid, but a big part of this custom is that his upper body is basically backwards or opposite from the topspin figure. Pull out his leg sections and swivel them down. Fold up his shins, pull down his feet as you do so, and simply peg them in. Nothing complicated there. Pull up his hood to give you space to keep working, and fold in this midsection. Then we bring down the roof section of the car Pull forward his arms as you usually would. And orient those arms. Swivel the head around. And you have Leadfoot. Now you could simply display your Leadfoot like this. Maybe throw some guns in his arms. Let's do that right now. It does help bulk him out. He is supposed to be a beefy dude, so it doesn't hurt. But that does leave out that backpack. So let's talk about that backpack. So you have these little arms. Like I said, you're basically just cutting them off at a, consistent angle with the figure. Those would usually be rounded and pinned into the chest section that you see there. But basically, these are going to peg in right under this little waist section here. And again, this is just to use all of the contents of the figure. So all you need to do is peg it right in there. It can take a bit of work, but you can see that is pegged in. And now you just do the other side. Now as you can see, they're both pegged in. They ain't going anywhere. But it does leave him with somewhat of a backpack. I ain't gonna lie. But he's supposed to be a beefy dude, and I'll be honest, every one of these guys in this crew, these wreckers, they have a backpack. Here's the group together. As you can see again, I want Leadfoot to look like a bot you could pick up off the shelf. I don't want him to look too distressed or have too much dry brushing, because Hasbro's not going to do that. And I really don't want to paint all of my bots. I still think he looks really cool. I wish I could have done a bit of a better job on the target symbols, but that's really tough. Again, I might go into this figure again later and try to grab some decals, things like that might help out, even some numeral decals. You can clearly see that I attempted to make it look like he's got doors on his chest by painting a little bit of black in those sections. That's to try to replicate the look that he had in the movie. As I said earlier, again though, Roadbuster and Topspin are not complete. In saying that, what did I do to this mode? Here's those chain links on his guns that you can see again. I chopped off these, I don't know, these gripping hooks. I don't know what you call those things. So I chopped those off. I've added those missiles. You can see those exhaust that I, kind of intentionally misplaced would be facing upwards here. So that was a decision I made. I don't know if it's the right one, but for now I really like it. My main decision was to try to make him look cool in bot mode, because that's how most of us display our bots. You could see he looks kind of pot-bellied and everything. His head sculpt, I added beard pieces. Those are just pieces of plastic off of one of the prime weapons. I guess you would call it Arms Micron. That was it. That's it. And even his earpieces are little offcuts of Arms Micron pieces. Those are simply sculpted and glued and did some sanding. And you could kind of see that this face comes from that. The cool thing about this being the armored Topspin is that his visor is a very blue color, while his has a greenish blue. So there is a difference, and again, that's another part that I really liked about this custom. I think they look great together. They're all, affected by kibble or backpacks. You can see there's quite a bit on Roadbuster. There's a good amount on Leadfoot. And there's a whole ton here on Topspin. But I think, again, my intention is to make this easy enough that anyone can do it, because if I can do it, you can do it. And really, I'm not spending $400 to get a version of this guy. That's just ridiculous. I'll bring in Bumblebot here for a second. The important things for customizing him, in my opinion, is yellow knuckles, black toes, silver calves, and silver highlights. I even went ahead and put a little red marking on his forehead to replicate the Autobot symbol. Let's do the draw for the contest. Like I said, Wreck-Gar is holding every entry in his dump truck. So let's get him opened up. And we'll see who wins. Now, every entry, it's empty. Every entry is now piled down on the table there. So let's see who wins. I will mention before I open up the winner that I have put my own name in this entry. Because I'll stick it to you people, man. If I can win, I'll take it. I'll customize them both. Who's our winner? Mega Antonio Wasp. Thanks again, everybody who's entered this contest. Again, I was just doing it to show my appreciation. I really do appreciate that people have subscribed to me. I know I didn't get a ton of entries, and obviously it's not the most fantastic reward, but I will be doing some head sculpting and painting. Give me a week or two, Mega Antonio. You've got the reward. I am going to contact you in your discussion page on your channel, and we'll exchange email addresses or something. But thank you, Anthony Marlin, Hot Rodney, Jaron, Poke, Elijah, Kyle, Chocho especially, a fantastic dude, trust me, he's fantastic, Candroid, Ransmo, and Victor. Thank you so much for entering. I hope you win next time. I'm going to do another one of these sooner or later. This is not something to really grab subs or do anything. It's just to have fun. I like painting these things, and I'd love to give them away. It's really not a big deal. So thanks again for watching. I will see you soon. These weapons did come with armored topspin. Wow. That was pretty tight. Be gentle with your clear coat. Really all he is just a little extra paint, because honestly a lot of movie bots need a little extra paint.